Hey everybody, it's Chuck Dixon back to talk about what I do for a living. And what I do for a living is I write comic books and I answer your questions. All your questions posted on Facebook and on YouTube and otherwise sent to me through email and private messaging and thrown, wrapped in a brick and thrown through my front window. I'll answer them all. But this week we got a very, very special episode because all of the questions are from one questioner. This is our John Morgan Neal special. so, um, John is a guy who co-writes with me. We wrote a western together, Snake Hand, and hopefully we're going to write some more western novel. He's also the creator of I'm Geronimo, a terrific comic series that he created with Todd Fox, another buddy of mine. And you can look that up online. It's available, I believe it's available digitally, isn't it, John? But I know it's in print in several different volumes. So let's get to John's first question. Well, let's get to the whole list of his questions. He says, you still haven't answered my Fantastic Four question. I forget what it was. But here are some more. So I'm going to make it up to you. I'm going to answer all your other questions. You said what was your second favorite TV show in the latest Ask Chuck. What is your first and third? Yeah, in a previous Ask Chuck Dixon, I revealed that Monk is my second favorite TV show of all time. And this is a list that never really evolved, hasn't evolved in a long time. Let's put it that way. But my number one favorite show has been my number one favorite show since I was a kid, The Rifleman. In fact, I just started recently rewatching this series for the umpteenth time. The Rifleman was a half-hour TV Western, started, I think, 1957, 1958 on ABC television. It was created by legendary film director Sam Peckinpah. And if you've never seen it, it's very simplest show you can imagine. Lucas McCain, widower, has a ranch in New Mexico. And he works alongside his son, Mark. And they live outside the town of Norfolk. And really the only recurring character throughout the entire series is Sheriff Micah, played by the great character actor Paul Fix. And the plot of the show is as simple as can be. Someone would ride into Norfolk, make a bunch of trouble, push Lucas around, and by the end of the episode, he had gunned him and anyone else he had ridden in town down in the street. I mean, there's an episode where three guys are riding up and there's a sign that says 6 miles to Norfolk and 5 miles to Beaver Creek or whatever. And they choose the road to Norfolk. And anybody who's ever seen even 2 episodes of the show know that was a terrible, terrible mistake. Lucas had the highest body count, um, on an aggregate basis of any other TV Western. He's only beat out by Matt Dillon, who was on the air for 20 years. The Rifleman was only on the air for 5. And Lucas got up into the high 3 numbers of killing every talented character actor that had ever appeared in a Western. He even guns down Buddy Hackett in an episode. What I liked about this show was the inevitability. I mean, if you're a Columbo fan, you understand this, where the bad guys are introduced and they're doomed the minute they encounter Lucas McCain. Same for Columbo. The murderer is never going to get away with it. Columbo's going to figure it out in the end. And the joy is watching the nuances that the writers put on the show to basically spice up this very, very simple premise. And they come up with some really clever stuff. The show was never contrived. And even though you knew Lucas was going to win the final gunfight every week, there was still a great deal of suspense. There was always some element thrown in there to make you worry that you weren't really worried Lucas was going to get killed, but maybe somebody he cared about was going to get hurt or, whatever. But just some great, great TV Westerns and my longtime favorite television show. My third favorite show of all time is The Wire. It's a 5-season show, ran on HBO. I have watched the entire series, I think, 5 times, and I've watched season 3 more than that. Season 3 is the best of the 5 seasons. Um, Maybe it only ran 4 seasons. I'm not really sure. Anyway, I lose track. It's a cop drama, unlike any other cop drama ever filmed. It's shot in Baltimore, shot on location, and it deals simultaneously with uh, with the drug gangs on the street and the cops who are trying to catch them. The cops are trying to build cases to get the drugs off the street entirely, go after the kingpins, and it deals with the trials and tribulations of the cops, the trials and tribulations of the street dealers, and the Machiavellian political machinations of the upper management of the drug trade. It is just a spectacular show, amazingly written. It's written by Baltimore natives. David Simon and George Pelicanos did the bulk of the writing on the series, and both of them, Baltimore natives, very conversant with the crime scene in Baltimore, very conversant with city politics. This is a true crime epic with dozens and dozens of incredible characters. And the thing that's most remarkable about the show and kind of sad is in this day and age when everyone talks about diverse casts and everything else, this show was had the finest African American cast of any drama ever made for television. Just indelible characters, just awesome acting, characters you simply fell in love with or were terrified of, alternately sometimes. And it's a pity that it didn't get more attention, from a press that seems to be obsessed with diversity and inclusion. And if you watch extras on the Blu-rays, the cast complains about this quite a bit. They get no love from the media. I don't know why that is, but the show is stark in its realism, often heartbreaking to watch. Michael B. Jordan's death, I'm spoiling it for you, is absolutely the most heartbreaking thing I've ever seen in a fictional television show. But yeah, it's for those keeping score, it's Rifleman number 1, Monk number 2, and The Wire number 3 for my favorite TV shows, if that matters to you. Next question. What are your favorite TV comedies? We're back to television. Bilko is a favorite. I've mentioned this before. I love service comedies, and Bilko is the king of them. Yeah, it's a little corny. It's a little bit dated, but Phil Silvers is just irrepressible on this series, and I watch episodes of it frequently. Um, of course, Seinfeld. Well, I don't know. A lot of people don't like Seinfeld, but I do. I think it was an absolute work of genius from beginning to end. Even the last episode, I thought was a work of genius. A lot of even diehard Seinfeld fans don't like that last episode. I think it's because they don't understand it. Uh, and another one that I really enjoy and rewatch often is Black Books. This is a series from Britain. It features a drunken, possibly psychotic bookstore owner in, I assume, the west of London, and the absurd, surrealistic adventures he gets into with his close cadre of friends. It is just silliness from the guy who created Father Ted and the IT crowd. It's just silliness reigns, and just a very, very funny show with a really terrific cast of comic actors in the lead roles. Okay, next question. I've never heard you mention them. Do you like the Legion of Superheroes? Simple answer, no. I was never a fan. Never a fan of the Legion of Superheroes. The only kid I know growing up who loved the Legion of Superheroes was our school's resident genius. This guy had and still does, have like a 200 plus IQ. He taught himself French and Chinese by the time we had reached high school. He used to torment the French teacher in high school by correcting her grammar. But I think you needed a genius IQ to keep all these characters straight, and I just didn't appreciate the rampant silliness of it. There's so much silliness at the core of DC, and sometimes you got to lean into it. But things like Matter Eater Lad, I guess it was fun for the fans. I guess they were in. I didn't get the joke. It just seemed dumb to me. But yeah, never got into the characters, and I wasn't much into teen characters anyway. when I was a kid. Um, I had two teenage sisters. They're older than me when I was a kid, and I met their boyfriends and I wasn't impressed. So here we go. Well, what are your favorite superhero teams? I'm adding more irony than John has in here. Uh, okay, I, there's a few superhero teams I love. Batman the Outsiders is one of them. It was a team created when Batman quit the JLA and the Justice League, still formed his own group of outsiders. These were sort of outlier solo characters. Some of them created for the series, some of them already existing, and he has his own team. Uh, Mike Barr and Jim Aparo, and then later, oh boy, I'm failing on Alan Davis on artwork. Mike Barr created a, a very sort of unique Batman book. It was a Batman spin-off book, but it had a flavor all its own, a lot of global adventures, and I really enjoyed it. It was well written throughout, and the art was always good. Obviously, Jim Aparo and Alan Davis, and it had more of a cinematic approach than the rest of the Batman books at the time, which I really appreciated because I like cinematic comics. I like pure comics that are visually driven. And Mike Barr generally wrote to his artist's strengths and left them alone, got out of the way when he didn't need to be there. But good stuff. And I got to write my own abbreviated run on Batman the Outsiders, which I really enjoyed. I tried to bring some of the flavor that to it that Mr. Barr had brought to it. Um, and then, of course, the Fantastic Four. Love the Fantastic Four. Um, I was on the ground floor when the Fantastic Four first started back in the early 60s. Just went crazy over them and, never missed an issue for the next 10 years. The Avengers, different time periods in the Avengers. Mostly, if it's written by if it's drawn by John Buscema, I'm there. So I was really surprised to find out I have a very, very long run of the Avengers, uninterrupted run of the Avengers when I was going through my comics recently. So apparently, I really did enjoy this team. Um, I like the internal dynamics, and you got all the great characters. You got Captain America, Iron Man, Hulk, Thor, and they're all drift in and out. Lots of great guest stars. And what I liked about the Avengers was they had their own villains, their own set of villains who were basically Avengers villains, as we all know. Ultron, characters like that, who were almost exclusively only Avengers villains. Another group I love is the Thunder Agents. And I don't know, these guys they just appeared on the newsstand one day when I was a kid. Uh, back when I was a kid, you went to the newsstand to buy comics and you didn't know what was coming out. So every time you went to the newsstand, you could expect a surprise. Sometimes it was a whole new comic book or a character you didn't know. And then in the case of the Thunder Agents, it was a whole company that just appeared overnight. And here was this 25 cent, um, extra size Thunder Agents #1. And I thought I recognized the artist on the cover. This is before I was really paying attention to artist names. But when I opened it up, I saw trademark Wallywood bullet holes. And oh man, I love this guy's stuff. So I bought it. Um, Thunder Agent stuff, the stories are a little simplistic, although it features the first death of a superhero. I mean, real death, he's dead, he ain't coming back. Death of a superhero I ever remember reading in comics when the character Mentor is murdered. And the Thunder Agents immediately take revenge for the murder. I liked that too when I was a kid. They just destroyed. I think it was the Overlords were the villains. They just wiped these guys out after discovering Mentor's body. And they had their own villains. The standout was Iron Maiden, who was a arch nemesis, sort of Catwoman to Dynamo, the Superman stand-in for the Thunder Agents. But it was a fun series and great art by Wally Wood, Reed Crandall, Al Williamson, Steve Ditko, Gil Kane. I mean, all the greats showed up for this. Unfortunately, short-lived universe of superheroes, but one of my favorite teams. Final question. What are the difference in writing a team versus solo hero, and which do you prefer? I'm suspecting there's a theme here. I think it's about superhero groups. Um, yeah, the solo character, I think the Punisher is the only true solo character in comics because as much as Batman and Superman are kind of loners, they have an ensemble cast that surrounds them. Punisher's ensemble cast tends to get killed, sometimes by him. Uh, and even when he does have an ensemble or people he relies on, he still remains essentially a loner. And yeah, I don't know if it's easier. It's just different to write an ensemble cast, and I've done a few of them. Uh, you've got to, you know, you got to not forget anybody. I wrote a novel recently that has, a recurring ensemble cast of 7 characters, and I had forgotten one of them. And my editor said, "What happened to so and so?" I'm like, "Oh crap!" So I had to do a complete write through of the novel, put that character back in an organic way because I completely forgotten that they were there. So there's one of the challenges of writing an ensemble, and you. So yeah, you've got to give each character a voice. You got to think of them as individual personalities. You've got to give them their own arcs. Each one of them has their own story arc. So it's a lot of juggling. It's a lot of balance, and you just have to keep it all straight. The most important thing to do is to remember that no matter what ensemble you're writing, one of those characters is somebody's favorite character, and you don't want to short shrift anybody. You want to give everybody their moment. You want to give them everybody their star turn, whether it's a humorous moment or a moment of retribution or redemption, uh, or just spotlight them as like the coolest guy in the world, or give them an awesome death. That's another way of spotlighting and giving equal time to part of your supporting cast. Okay, well, that's it. I hope you liked the answers, John. I hope the rest of you liked it too. And that is the end of our John Morgan Neal special. Maybe there'll be a sequel. What about it? Okay, Unauthorized TV. Unauthorized TV is a subscription channel that has many, many, many more of these videos just like this, videos, sorry about that, videos that go into deeper depth on some of these subjects. It is a subscription service. You do have to pay, but there's lots of other great stuff on the channel. There's a lot of comedy and instructional videos and history and even audiobooks that you can listen to as part of your subscription. So if you want more of what you just watched and listened to, then head on over there. Other than that, I will see you most probably next week. And until then, we'll see you down the road.